Well, now onto a country in Africa you may not have heard much about recently. Gabon in West Central Africa is the continent's 9th biggest oil producer. But falling crude prices have created mass unemployment in a country almost solely dependent on its oil revenue. Now, many blame the current government for Gabon's worsening economic position, as Alican Ayanlar reports.
There is anger on the streets of Gabon's economic capital, Port-Gentil. The hub of Africa's 9th biggest source of oil is suffering from falling prices. Almost 3,000 jobs in the country's oil sector have been lost since 2014, a statistic on the minds of many voters as they choose their next president.
If they express their frustration at the polls, that could be damaging to the government's candidate in place.
Omar Bongo has ruled Gabon for 41 years until his death in 2009. Violence tore through the nation after his son Ali assumed the top position, and he's hoping to be elected for a second 7-year term. But this time, a former ally of his father and ex-husband to his sister, Jamping, stands in his way.
Ali is rejected by all people. His only strength is to win by force, cheating and doing everything you can imagine.
In a last-ditch attempt to secure votes, Bongo has revealed more plans to diversify Gabon's economy. One of his proposed projects is a $400 million rubber plantation, which could make Gabon a major exporter by 2018.
Donc, pour cela,
we must speed up the reforms, speed up our country's development. As I said, move from a rent economy to a production economy and diversify it so it may produce a lot more wealth.
et ces richesses-là que l'on puisse.
While some think violence will be inevitable, many are hoping for a peaceful process. Helping that effort is Regab, the mobile phone app launched to try to make the election free and fair.
This application serves us at the level of civil society to document if there is ever any fraud. But most of all, this gives a sense of responsibility to the young people we are going to be sending out on the streets to gather information and results.
But there is concerns among the opposition this still may not be enough to pull Gabon's 2 million people from the grips of the Bongo family. Alican Ayanlar, TRT World.
Well, we're joined by Fidelis Mbah now in the studio. Fidelis, we just heard Alican there saying, there's barely 2 million people in that country, and yet they're the 9th biggest oil producer in Africa. So why aren't they rich?
Well, this is something that has happened over the years. It's not just this issue of unemployment, poverty didn't just start overnight. Like he also mentioned in his report, they've had a leader who was in power for about 4 decades, and then handing over, his son taking over. So it's been a kind of a family affair. So within the ruling class, you just had a certain group of people who were in charge of both the economy and the political circle. So the others were just relegated to the background, which is more like it's either you're with them and you get the crumbs or you're out completely.
So clearly the dynasty hasn't been working for Gabon.
Yeah, that's actually what they're trying to break this time, with the opposition for the first time in the history of the country trying to form an alliance to produce one candidate, because before now, they've been bringing different candidates and it's not been easy to more like upstage the dynasty.
They're looking much stronger this time round, the opposition.
Yes, but then, this alliance between the opposition is just coming, barely 2 weeks to the election, and people are wondering if that is enough time for them to be able to galvanize enough support across the country to be able to upstage Omar Bongo.
Just getting back to the economy for a moment there, Fidelis, do you think Gabon can diversify and wean itself off oil?
It's not impossible. In 2010, President Bongo did sign an agreement, with some Asian companies, what about over $4 billion to try to diversify the economy of the country. But since then, nothing much has been heard about that deal, because they had agreements to improve infrastructure. They had agreement to build a refinery, to build roads, and also to one of the Singaporean companies that signed an agreement with them was to set up what would actually become, what they wanted to become the largest palm oil producing company in Africa. But that has not happened, and people are actually thinking that that was more like a gimmick in 2010.
Well, Fidelis, the country is at the crossroads. We shall see which way they go. Thanks very much for your analysis.